90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachiku, and this is a World News at 6. First off, the top stories. Examination hall collapses on WAEC candidates in Taraba State. Atiku tackles WAEC over poor exam conduct. Also, Labour Party berates APC government, says you have done nothing for 2 years, we would have done better. Also, Ohaneze Indibo faction calls Tinubu's administration incompetent. In a very recent development, appeal court slams professor for rigging Akpabio's election. Also, Charleboy slams Orji Uzokalo for his outfit endorsing President Tinubu for second term. And on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, U.S. court blocks most Trump tariffs, said President exceeded his authority. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. Now, dozens of students sitting for the ongoing West African Senior School Certificate Examination at Government Secondary School in Namai in Gasol Local Government area of Taraba State narrowly escaped death on Wednesday evening after their classrooms collapsed during a downpour accompanied by a windstorm. The students, along with teachers, corps members, external supervisors, were reportedly trapped in the collapsed structures and had to be rescued by local residents who responded swiftly to the incident. Several students, both male and female, sustained varying degrees of injuries, with some reportedly suffering fractures of their limbs. The victims are currently receiving treatment at a nearby primary healthcare center in the town. A resident, Alhaji Azumi Loris, who spoke with correspondents, said the incident happened around 6 p.m. shortly after the second set of students began their examinations. He lamented further as well that the situation had gotten worsened and the windstorm not only brought down the school buildings but also destroyed several homes in the community. Also, students in Jalingo, the state capital, were affected by Wednesday's heavy rainfall. Some candidates were forced to remain at their exam centers until after 1 a.m. as the torrential rain made it impossible to return home earlier. Efforts made to contact the Commissioner for Basic Education, Dr. Augustina Godwin. Her phone line, however, at the time this report was being filed, was unreachable. In a related development also, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has condemned the West African Examination Council over poor conduct of the 2025 Senior Secondary School examinations. Now, in a viral video, students writing exams were using a torchlight at 9 p.m. in Osun State. On Thursday, Atiku decried that the students were subjected to poor and inhuman conditions by WAEC. The former presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party described the scenario as unfortunate and proof of systemic failure. He called for cancellation of the paper written by the students and urged WAEC to make arrangements for conducive environment for the students. He also went further to demand going forward that it was imperative that relevant authorities establish and enforce minimum environmental and infrastructural standards for all high-stakes national examinations. We must never allow such a shameful scenario to repeat itself, not under our watch, end quote. Meanwhile, the Labour Party has criticized the All Progressives Congress government, stating it would have done a better job for managing Nigeria's economy. You do know that the party's National Publicity Secretary Obiora Ifo said this in an interview with correspondents on Wednesday. Ifo said the government did nothing in 2 years and has borrowed more than any government before it. According to him, Nigerians are in a better position to answer questions about whether their lives are better now than they were 2 years ago, adding that the party foresaw the hardship, poverty and economic downturn that Nigerians are currently suffering. Also, they went ahead to disclose, however, that if at all Nigeria needed the right path, more secure roads needed to be made and purchasing power of citizens needs to be better. They also disclosed, however, that to talk about the youth unemployment and the rise in all forms of criminality, it will not be entirely correct to say the government did nothing in 2 years, as it has borrowed more than any government before it, neither with the value of the naira. Now, Ohaneze Indibo, the Apex Igbo Social Culture Organization, has stated that there is nothing to celebrate on the 2 years anniversary of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The group, speaking in a joint press statement signed today by the factional Deputy President General Mazi Okechukwu Izuguzoro and Thompson Ohia, respectively, urged Tinubu to end the pervasive hunger and ineffective economic policies that have proven fruitless over the past 2 years. They also advised President Tinubu to summon his righteous resolve to put an end to the urbanization agenda, which comprises the integrity of national unity, and embrace a paradigm ground in competence and merit. The Apex Igbo group lamented that Nigerians are undergoing untold hardships due to ongoing experimental leadership failures propagated by a cadre of incompetent ministers and political appointees. In another development, the Court of Appeal in Calabar has delivered a damning verdict against Professor Peter Ogban, affirming his conviction and 3-year jail sentence for manipulating the 2019 senatorial election results in favor of Senate President Godswill Akpabio. In a scathing ruling, Justice Joseph Oyewole, delivering the lead judgment on behalf of the 3-man panel, declared that the title of university professor is not one easily attainable, and it's certainly not a rank attained by fools. Ogban, a professor of soil science at the University of Uyu, served as a returning officer in Akwa Ibom Northwest during the 2019 general elections. He was found guilty by the Akwa Ibom State High Court in Ikotekpene on charges of electoral fraud, specifically falsifying and announcing fake results in 2 local government areas, Oruk Anam and Itim Ikbo. Despite his conviction on the 25th of March 2021, the disgraced professor remains free, highlighting what critics have called the failures of Nigeria's criminal justice system. Justice Oyewole pointedly rejected Ogban's defense that he altered the figures based on verbal pronouncements made by collation officers rather than the written results submitted. The appellate court affirmed that Ogban deliberately falsified the figures to favor the All Progressives Congress candidate Akpabio, who had recently defected from the People's Democratic Party at the time but ultimately lost the election to PDP's Chris Ekpenyong. Justice Peter Obiora, concurring with the lead judgment, said Ogban betrayed public trust and described his actions as despicable and shameful. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) had prosecuted the case, presenting evidence from 2 collation officers whose figures Ogban altered. The court dismissed all 4 grounds of Ogban's appeal, including claims of denial of fair hearing, and upheld the original conviction. Justice Oyewole concluded this appeal is devoid of merit and it is accordingly dismissed. Entertainer and social media personality Charles Oputa, also known as Charlie Boy, has berated the senator representing Abia North, Orji Kalu, over his outfit endorsing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2nd term. Kalu attended Tuesday's plenary at the Senate wearing an outfit bearing the inscription Tinubu for President 2027. Speaking with newsmen at the National Assembly, Kalu described his attire as an open endorsement of President Bola Tinubu's re-election. He said, "Can you see what I am wearing? If you look at the dress I'm wearing, you will know what it is. This is the endorsement for Mr. President. My dress is perfectly tailored to that, and the Southeast Caucus is fully in support." Also, Kalu disclosed, however, that the campaign outfit needs to be adopted by others. Sharing Kalu's picture on Instagram, Charlie Boy described the politician as a clown. He stated that the lawmaker had taken psychophancy to another level. He wrote, and I quote, "See this clown. Some of these..." End quote. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment. I'm being joined right here in the studio with Peter Anosike. Mr. Peter Anosike is an author, a political national affairs commentator. He'll be giving us insight into some of the questions I'll be posed at him. To kindly stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Mr. Peter Anosike, good evening and thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
I think May 29 is now Democracy Day, right? Or is it Inauguration Day?
Well, I don't know.
Former President Muhammadu Buhari changed the day. I think before we used to have May 29 as Democracy Day. Okay, now it's June 12. June 12 is now widely celebrated as Democracy Day. So I think May 29 is now Inauguration Day. Now, Mr. Peter Anosike, objectively, how would you analyze the president's 2 years in office? Because his spokesperson, Bayo Nanuga, including himself, the president, has told us that his administration has yielded quite a lot. He mentioned economy, he mentioned security, he also mentioned the devalue of the naira and the subsidy removal. How would you describe this?
You say objectively, and I want to be objective.
Okay.
Government is about the well-being of the people. Government is about the welfare of the people.
Okay.
Now, for the people, fuel was selling at 197 naira per liter in May 2023 when Tinubu came into office. 197. Today is selling at 800 and something.
That was because he removed subsidy on petrol.
I'm talking about the people.
Okay.
Exchange rate was 450 naira. Understand me? Per dollar. Today it is now about 1,500 and. Then when you talk about prices of goods in the market,
okay,
it has tripled. Check a bag of rice 3 years ago and what is today.
Okay.
Check the cost of transport 3 years ago and what is today. That will practically shows you that life of Nigeria are now far worse under Tinubu than it has ever been.
Okay.
Nobody can dispute that. Forget what is in the pipeline. Forget hopes and dreams. I'm telling you the reality of Nigerians as we speak.
So are we saying what the president reeled out today in his anniversary broadcast is a major disparity? Or did he say what he said because he just wanted to say it? And then you have his aides confirming most of the things he said. What
do you expect them to say? To say no, and they will be arrested within an hour. They will be arrested within an hour. So I'm giving you that's what is verifiable anywhere. Check the cost of food, check the cost of transport, check the exchange rate, check everything. Nigeria is now far worse under Tinubu than we were under Buhari,
okay, Jonathan.
Even in the days of the military,
yes,
we used to refer to them as the dark days of Nigerian history. But we are now in a darker days in a democracy. So in a civilian regime, it was dark day. In a military regime, it was dark day. In a civilian regime, it was darker days. Because our life were far better under the army. Understand me? Then check insecurity. Check insecurity. Now, most of the farmers in Benue are now in IDP camps. Most of the farmers in Plateau State are now in ID camps.
In fact, Mr. Peter Anosike, that is what surprises me, because when the president was reeling this out just yesterday evening, we read about the Plateau State governor shedding tears. He broke down in tears and said, "My people, I have disappointed you. I was meant to protect your lives and properties. I am so sorry. Over 50 persons killed, cattle displaced, and some lands are being taken over by certain elements who I don't want to use a certain name, because until a court of jurisdiction competition is able to verify them, then we can now call them such names." But the thing is factors that it feels the administration of the president seems to be in the lack of knowledge of either that, or they know and they're afraid. So what is the essence of pandering? If we have a working judicial system, a competent court that works in the favor of the people, why are the elements they've been able to apprehend not being prosecuted? That's one. Two, what is the intelligence gathering format? Why have they not been able to table these guys, prosecute them in a competent court, and do what needs to be done?
One, those who are committing mayhem in North Central are being protected by the powers that be. Those who are constituting mayhem in the North Central, they know them very, very well. They know them, but they are being protected. They are being treated like sacred cows. So it is not even or the governor who was shedding tears knows it.
Okay.
And mind you, we have only one commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the country. Muftuang is not in charge of security in his state. Muftuang is not in charge of security in his state. We have a commander-in-chief of the armed forces who is in charge of all the securities in the country. Okay. And the number one responsibility of government is the protection of life and property. And any government that's not doing that has failed. Tinubu is not doing that.
Mr. Peter Noske, we'll come into the president's administration. Let's look at the Sir Peter Ogban affirming his conviction and 3-year jail sentence for manipulating the 2019 senatorial election results in favor of Senate President Godswill Akpabio. What I actually find alarming is that this court has said he doesn't deserve to be called a professor. He tried to defend himself by saying that the falsification of that election results in 2 local governments was done verbally, meaning that it was like a slip of the tongue or it was a slide of the tongue. And the court said no, it was a deliberate falsification. INEC was one that took up that case, obviously. Maybe the person who Godswill Akpabio was contesting with was one that took it up. But the thing is, the Senate president, nothing has happened to him in that regard, no form of punitive measure. And do you know that this particular professor has been walking about free all this while, has been walking about free when he's supposed to be in jail? So the question is, if we have elements like this occupying sensitive positions in our office with all this brigandage, electoral brigandage, and the court has actually affirmed that in 2019 this took place, meaning that whatever position the Senate president is occupying is illegal, how come this man is still working free?
Well, it is those things that qualified Akpabio to be Senate president.
What things?
Those manipulation, those riggings that qualified Akpabio. His cases in EFCC are the things that qualified him to be the Senate president.
Is the president not ashamed that he has such a person?
That's why he is the master strategist.
That's why he's the master strategist.
Sure, he knows those he can pick, and they will give him more than 100% support.
Are you saying that as a master strategist, are you being, I don't know the literary item to use, are you being metaphorical, or are you being sarcastic in your remark? Because if you say, for example, that is why the president is a master strategist, you say he's a master strategist that allows rigging, falsification, manipulation, electoral brigandage. Is that what you expect the president to have within his closed cabinet?
If you pick somebody who has no skeleton in his cupboard, you cannot control him. Understand me? But if you pick somebody like Akpabio, whose cupboard has scorpions and other things, you can easily. That's why even before a president sends a bill to the National Assembly, Akpabio has already approved it.
Okay.
Because he knows if he doesn't do it, what will happen. So Tinubu have records of all these people. So that thing is what qualified him. And that's also what qualified Benjamin Kando to be deputy speaker. Because his case is in the court. His WAEC has more than 7 different names. So it is those things that qualified Nigerians to get into political office. They corrupt. The dirtier you are, or the better for those at the top.
Mr. Peter Nosike,
So excuse me, on this issue, God should have issued an order.
Okay.
That Senate president should refund all the money that he took for 4 years.
Exactly.
Understand me? They should have issued an order that all the salaries, all the announcements that he took for 4 years, he should return them because he never merited it. Understand me? Because he worked for somebody. He manipulated for somebody. He rigged for somebody. So whatever the benefit that person is enjoying, he did not merit it. So court should ought to have given an order for Akpabio to refund all the money that he was paid for as a senator for the next 4 years.
If the court has dismissed all 4 grounds of Ogban's appeal, including claims of denial of fair hearing, and has upheld the original conviction, which obviously he's to go to jail, why is Ogban still working free? And why is the Senate president not called? Is somebody needs to sue him, or is there a petition that needs to be written, or is it because he's 003 and so right now he has immunity and nothing can happen?
He has no immunity.
So why has no prosecution commenced?
It is civil society groups that should take up this thing. It is civil society that should take up this agitation, understand me, and escalate it. It is civil society that should escalate this.
So when you made these persons have colorations, the Senate President, Deputy Speaker, these are persons of questionable character, and it doesn't mean that the president,
and that's their qualification.
No, what I'm saying is that how does the president intend Nigerians to speak well of him if all of those persons who have questionable characters surround him and they're making rules and regulations for the people
to get
loyalty?
Sure.
Is this what qualifies the gray areas about his personality? And they say, okay, maybe that's the reason why the president has such persons, because the president has boldly endorsed the Senate president. He said he's a good man and he is doing well. So in that particular regard, when you occupy yourself with persons of questionable character, how do you now expect Nigerians to give you encomiums?
No, he's not talking about Nigerians. He's talking about himself. It is his turn.
No, the president said that right now all he's doing is for the interest of Nigerians.
You believe in what he said?
Are we not supposed to believe the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Are you saying that he writes messages through his aides, comes here, do a national broadcast, he's lying to the people whose taxpayers' money is what is keeping him there?
Ask the president to wear the paper that he read about 4 hours ago is now. He cannot tell you. Understand? It's gone, it's gone. Understand me? So that's how this works. So those things, the dirtier you are, the better for Tinubu. Understand me? Because it will be easy to manipulate you.
So we say that all the persons within that circle, all of them are persons of questionable character. All of them.
Tell me a clean person among them. Just mention one.
So is that how Nigeria's politics will continue to go?
Well, since 2015, it has been that way, and it will continue that way until maybe, let's say, what happens in 2027.
Let's look at Charlie Boy, who called Orji Uzokalo a couple of names. I couldn't read it out because it was really bad, but you know how he is, and for the sake of the fact that it's a national radio, there are some words that you cannot use. So for example, he called out Orji Uzokalo for wearing the president's an outfit that supposedly was endorsing the president for 2027. This was 2 days ago. Orji Uzokalo wore that outfit to the National Assembly, addressed the press with it, and made some affirmations as well. If you had listened to the Evening Rush, I played out his reaction where he said that Nigerian youth were lazy, and also in that same breath said that the president will not be the president forever. After 8 years, then another person will come on board. In that particular regard, would you confirm or attribute your line of thought towards what Charles Oputa said?
Well, with due respect, Orji Kanu is behaving like somebody with a slave mentality.
Okay.
That's how Orji Uzokalo is behaving. He is behaving like a kid these days. Understand? This is somebody, one, if you have a conscience, understand me, they said that power should be rotating, even though it's not in the constitution, that power should be rotating between the north and the south.
Yeah.
Understand me? We are from the south. southeast, and southwest are from the south.
Okay.
Obasanjo is a Yoruba man. He took 8 years. Understand me? Then power now coming back. A Yoruba man, they did not consider you. He ran.
Yeah.
He ran. Understand me? And was I would not want to say he won. He was declared winner. Understand me? He was declared winner. And you being from the east is supporting another 16 years of somebody from the same region that you come from. It's slave mentality. It is slave mentality.
No, the issue here is, Mr. Peter Anosike, everybody is entitled to express their support. The fact that you are not comfortable or you don't like the president does not mean that any other person cannot like the president. But the issue is it time to start campaigning? I mean, if any other political party that is not the APC does that, wouldn't there be some petition written? Wouldn't the person be arrested? Wouldn't they call that it's anarchy or the person has broken any law whatsoever?
No.
So is the APC allowed to do certain things that other people cannot do? The issue is not about him supporting the president. He's free to support the president.
No. He is expressing himself. Understand? But my concern here is a psychological issue. He is behaving like somebody with a slave mentality. Understand me?
So why did anyone not call that out? If it was an opposition who wore that outfit, possibly defended an Omoyele Sowore for endorsement 2027, or Atiku Abubakar, or any other presidential candidate from the opposition, wouldn't we hear uproar from the camp of the All Progressives Congress? I just need to have a concept of what this means.
APC is a party that, even though they are in power, they are still in the opposition. Understand me? Because they are making more noise than the parties in the opposition. Because that's what they were trained. It's a party that was founded on propaganda.
Well, Benjamin Kalu is endorsing the president. Arthur Eze is saying the president has done well, the best so far in the economy. Dave Umahi, all of these persons are speaking on behalf of the Southeast.
They
have been calling the Southeast. They've been saying that the Southeast is endorsing the president for 2027.
I can also say that Nigeria is endorsing P2B for 2027. So whoever is talking about himself. None of them has the control of anybody's vote.
Okay.
Understand? None of them, but Kanu is shame on him.
All right, let's look at this. The Labour Party coming out to say that the 2 years of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is tainted with incompetence, and that the Labour Party would have done better. I'm sorry, when I was reading that particular news, I was laughing because it was almost like somebody ridiculing himself in the process of trying to express something, or maybe they needed to say something. How do you make sense of that? The party that seems to not get itself together is calling an administration of 2 years in power incompetent. In what capacity? How would you have done better?
Well, Atiku used that same word, incompetent. Atiku used that same word,
Atiku as an individual, not the PDP. Obiora Ifo is writing on behalf of the Labour Party.
Excuse me. P2B was the presidential candidate of Labour Party.
Okay. And
saying that Labour Party would have done well simply means that P2B would have done well.
Oh, he didn't mention Peter Obi.
That's the thing. P2B ran on the ticket of the Labour Party.
Peter Obi's statement lately has been from his own perspective to issues. He's not been representing or speaking on behalf of the Labour Party.
Excuse me. If PDP said that PDP would have done better than APC in 2 years, who are they referring to? Their presidential candidate, which is Atiku. Understand me? So he meant that P2B would have done better, and I strongly believe that P2B would have done 100% better than what we are seeing.
Why do you think Peter Obi would have done 100% better? You may say something about some, but that is how the supporters of the administration of the president believe the same thing. But it's a different ballgame when you get there.
The character of a person tells what he's going to do.
What was the character of the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu before he became a president?
Jaya person.
Oh God. I'm so sorry, Mr. Anosike. Okay, what is Jai person? What is that? That he's a city boy. He likes to play.
Enjoyment.
He's in part to love enjoyment.
Spending.
It's his money. He's a rich man.
Me?
He has his money.
So,
he's a rich man.
This the secret of success is living below your income. Understand me? Okay. And that's what P2B would have. P2B is prudent. P2B is frugal.
You are actually campaigning for P2B now.
I'm talking from his P2B left 75 billion when he was leaving office. How much Tinubu left Lagos in debt as a governor?
Some people believe that that particular lack of spending, that prudent nature of his, could be a problem, because during elections like this, you need to spend money
and buy people. P2B left PDP because they were saying presidential ticket at 40 million. Understand me? So if P2B was the president, this 160 million SUV, nobody would have thought about it.
You think that is why he is not the president now? The fact that a couple of people think they will not eat and enjoy if he is a president, that there will be a lot of blockages to the leakages.
Who is suffering now? Who is suffering now? For me, at the end of the day, P2B is already made. Understand me? He's not looking for a job. He wants to help this country. So at the end of the day, Nigerians will suffer it.
All right. I am not close to Peter Obi. What people read or what people say about themselves is different from who they are in reality. I've not had a one-on-one encounter with him to know about his personality. Neither have I had a one-on-one encounter with the president other than what I have seen and what I hear him say.
What I'm telling you is they are still worshipped in office. Peter Obi's 8 years in Anambra, Tinubu's 8 years in Lagos State. And mind you, 8 years and local government alone is richer than Anambra State with regard to IGR. Apapa local government is richer than Anambra State in terms of IGR. So it is not how much you are making, how much you are spending, and what are you spending on. So for them, there's no comparison. So P2B will have done far better than Tinubu in last 2 years. Mr.
Anozik, I'm going to tell the general manager to collect money from you for publicly campaigning when it's not yet time to campaign for Peter Obi.
Okay, Oji Kano, that war.
That's Oji Kalu. That's Oji Kalu. You just literally said that the APC are free to break laws. Nothing will happen to them. We're not in the APC, right? Okay, so let's look at what happened. For example, what happened in Taraba State, where students who were writing examination, while they were writing their WAEC examinations, the building of the school collapsed. It was a very terrible situation due to the heavy downpour. It still tells of the poor, deplorable educational infrastructure that we have in most part of this country, aside from the cities that seem to be very strong. Most public institutions, most public educational centers lack the infrastructure for a proper, conducive learning environment. How would you describe this?
Well, about in the afternoon, I was watching Delta State Thanksgiving in Arise. It was a live program.
Okay.
Arise was there in Asaba covering it. I'm sure they must have spent millions for Arise to come, and it becomes that a live program.
Yes.
And this is a state about last week that the children were using their phones to write WAEC.
Exactly.
Because there was no electricity in the school. But they have money to do Thanksgiving. And this is in Asaba itself, not even in the outskirts.
Yes.
In Asaba. So if that thing can happen in Asaba, imagine which is the capital of the state, imagine what will happen in the hinterland.
The same thing happened in Jalingo too, where the buildings were also destroyed because of that particular situation, that the students even had to stay back in school till 1 a.m. Everywhere was flooded because of the rain and windstorm.
So, and mind you, the Jalingo the Taraba is a natural disaster. That of Asaba is a man-made. There was no electricity in the school. There was no generator in a model school in Asaba. Not even in Ugeni or Abraka, but Asaba itself. That children there's one person with phone. About 4 other students will come and bring their papers together. WAEC, understand?
Yes.
So this shows you how how things, the decadence in our society.
It's a very terrible decadence because as it stands right now, some students who were trapped in their core members, teachers, some of them are receiving treatment. Some of them have broken limbs because of that structural collapse on them while they were writing their exams. And that is why Atiku Abubakar had complained and berated WAEC for the poor conditions of conducting the examination. Is it WAEC's fault? Is it the WAEC's fault for doing their examination as they're supposed to do it, as at when due? This is the period, this is their duration, they have a timetable. Or is it the fault of the country where they don't have a proper educational facility or establishment for these exams to be carried out by the students?
WAEC has nothing to do with this. Ghana is the headquarters of WAEC. The questions are set there and are now sent to the various West African countries, which they will store in the central bank. Okay. Understand? Then when the exam, they will begin distribution. Okay. So it's not the fault of WAEC that there's no electricity in your school, there's no generator in your school. It's not the fault of WAEC that because of bad road, the paper did not get to the school in time. WAEC has nothing to do with this. But this shows you that it's a failure of governance.
A real failure of governance. A real failure of governance. Mr. Peter Anosike, thank you so much for taking your time to give us your insight and your perspective to the issues discussed right here on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate your input.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And just before we go, let's look at stories outside the shores of Nigeria. A U.S. trade court blocked President Donald Trump's tariff from going into effect in a sweeping ruling on Wednesday that found the president overstepped his authority by imposing cross-the-board duties on imports from U.S. trading partners. The Court of International Trade said the U.S. Constitution gives Congress exclusive authority to regulate commerce with other countries that is not overridden by the president's emergency powers to safeguard the U.S. economy. Well, the judges also ordered the Trump administration to issue new orders reflecting the permanent injunction within 10 days. The Trump administration minutes later filed a notice of appeal and questioned the authority of the court. The court invalidated with immediate effect all of Trump's orders on tariffs since January that were rooted in the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a law meant to address unusual and extraordinary threats during a national emergency. The court was not asked to address some industry-specific tariffs Trump has issued on automobiles, steel and aluminium using a different statute. The decisions of the Manhattan-based Court of International Trade, which hears disputes involving international trade and customs laws, can be appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington, D.C., and ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court. And that's a wrap on the World News at 6, right here in Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Mwachuku. To stay with us for the